Okay, tout le monde, welcome. We're going to get started now to the first Ideate pop-up of the season with the Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada Innovation Lab. Je m'appelle Christy Kuchak and I'm the Executive Director of what is the, I believe, where's Mike Tremblay? Where's Mike? Oh, there he is. I'm going to say this, and I'm hoping I'm right when I say this. I think the first public sector design lab embedded in an incubator accelerator in the country. So we are week 7 into Bayview, and it's been a lot of fun. And we thought we would throw a little bit of a party this afternoon and start exposing and giving some of the inventors in the city a great opportunity to showcase their stuff, and then also to imagine how their stuff could be used in the public service. So I have to do a few cleanup things, or what do they call them? Cleanup, Paul? No. Startup things, or whatever you do at the beginning of an event? Housekeeping, thank you very much. Merci, thank you. So, bienvenue. So what is Ideate? I just want to give you a bit of a background to that. For us, it's a common design term that's used in our lab. We unpack problems with public servants, and we try and figure out how to solve them, not on our own in the public service, but together with Canadians in what we call co-design. And we've been doing this for just over 2 years at ISAD, and it's been a really interesting experience. Essentially, we're a startup in the public service, and with that brings all its uniqueness, quirks, and things that occur as we try and make a change and difference in what we're doing in serving the Canadians. Now, I need to say thank you to a number of people and groups who really came together very quickly to have this event transpire, and I think that's one of the features of Bayview being co-located here. We can move fast and be agile. So I want to recognize these individuals, and essentially what you're going to see took about 48 hours to concoct and then a couple more weeks to refine. And we did this as a team and as a collaborative effort. So first of all, I want to send out a shout out to the Bayview Yards team and Richard Quigley and Steve West. Steve's not here today, unfortunately he's ill, but thanks to those guys for helping us with the space. Also Invest Ottawa, Mike, to you and your team as well. Algonquin College, where's Patty and Chris? Chris, Patty? Chris and Patty. Oh, there's Patty. Okay, thank you for supporting us and bringing students, which is always helpful. I think you brought students. No, you didn't bring students. Okay, we'll catch you on the other side of that. Global Affairs Canada and the Collaboration Center. You can't see them, but they can hear you and they can see what we're doing. 125 Sussex, thanks to Ian Shaw and Jonathan and the team for collaborating with us. Civic Tech Consortia with Guy and the team. Merci encore pour votre assistance. And also InnoGov, Paul Harding, who's going to be taking over from me in a second, for agreeing to play and participate with us. Also to Nareva for helping us make this session interactive. So as I said at the beginning, if you were not here, please go to span.nareva.com/QS, sign up with 046-563-836, and you'll be able to contribute your ideas in real time as we go forward. Also to Deloitte. Anybody here from Deloitte? Nobody's admitting to being from Deloitte? What? There you go. We want to thank you for loaning Pepper, your AI-enabled robot, to greet people at the door. And we will be hopefully connecting with our colleague, Joanne Langan in Australia, through one of our robots. She's doing some performance measurement work and design, and she wants to be part of this conversation as well, so we'll hopefully do that in the next few minutes. Yeah, so just a couple of ground rules. In our lab, when we invite people into our space, and it's open and it's free in these kinds of events, and we really want to practice open government, but we have some ground rules. And basically the ground rules are, we work with empathy and respect and speaking truth to power. And in doing so, we really want to, in fact, make change work properly and work in a way that impacts Canadians in a positive way. So with those rules and those sort of ground rules in mind, feel free to share your ideas as we go forward. And I can see that you're actually doing that really well. Yeah, somebody's gonna have a hard time sorting those out this afternoon, but that's a good problem to have. And we're gonna move on with the genesis of the event, which is to showcase Canadian innovation and ingenuity in the local national capital ecosystem. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Paul Harding. He's the founder and CEO of InnoGov and has kindly agreed to start shepherding the process from here on in. Merci.
Does this one work? Yes. Yes, hello. So first agenda item for innovation is how do we make roads that don't have any snow on them, right? So I'm Paul Harding, IndyGov Canada. I've worked in over a dozen departments, running and launching innovation programs. I was asked to facilitate the discussion today. We'd like this to be an interactive session. There will be a few companies presenting that will have innovative technology or disruptive technology. And I think that the key for us today is to kind of put ourselves in a frame of mind of looking at the types of technology that are out today and looking at it from an opportunity perspective. How can we apply these types of technology to better the public service? How can we look inside of whether you're working at a department today, how it operates, how it provides services to citizens? Is there anything from these types of technologies that we can use to better that public service? So the point of today is to really have an interactive discussion. The format that we have is there'll be a few companies presenting, and we will have a discussion period after every company presents to talk about the technology that the company brings, but also the type of technology that's being used. In my history, I've seen some big culture change within departments, and the way that I've seen that done is by people leading by example. It's very easy to be a can't-doer, and I've been fighting most of my life here in Canada with can't-doers, but I've also been a part of some real exceptional change, and it can be difficult to fight that battle and to be a can-doer, but it's important to, if you do have a success story, to stand up and to talk about that, because I have found that getting the confidence by seeing other people that have had some success is kind of where that change can begin. So I hope that after every session or after every pitch that we see, that we can have an interactive discussion and see if we can come away, get our minds going and going back to our department or our workplace, and thinking about how we can bring some opportunities forward to better the public service or the quality of life or services to our citizens. So I'll leave it to the first company that's coming up to give their presentation, if you'd like to approach. Guy?
Hello, my name is Guy de Montigny. I'm the CEO and founder of Solution X Plus, and we're here to present today some of our innovation. First, I would like to thank Invest Ottawa for having us here, ICBY, and mostly Christian from ISCD, the Innovation Lab, very important in that presentation. So, Solution X Plus is mostly working with companies that have innovation. We're working with a program called the BCIP. In French, c'est le Programme d'Innovation Construit au Canada. Et this program, you can get contract with the federal government up to $500,000 if it's standard, and up to $1 million if it's military. So, in my portfolio right now, I have about 30 companies that have innovation that we're working through the process of BCIP. Either they're already submitted, won, or we're in the process of developing it. So that's what we do at Solution X Plus. So they've asked me to put together some disruptive technology. So I've selected 5 of my companies that I have in my portfolio to show you what Canadians are able to do. Everything that you're going to see today, nothing has that in the world. We're the only one here that has that. Because it's one of the criteria of the BCIP, it's to be so innovative that nobody has it. Okay? And it has to be pre-commercialization. So nobody has bought it yet. So what you're going to see, it's brand new on the market, super innovative, and ready to be commercialized. Okay? So I will leave you on this, and I will pass you to the first presenter of the pitch.
Now, in this high-tech presentation, the first thing we need to do is find the clicker. Bear with me for a second. There we go, that's me. Hi, I'm Lorraine McKay, co-founder and chief marketing officer of HRSG, Human Resource Systems Group. I'm here to talk to you as employers. As employers, what do you need from your employees, from your workforce? You need engaged employees, but you also need employees who are qualified. And qualified equals competencies. Competencies are those knowledge, skills, traits, education, experience, certifications that together form what's required for success in a job. The second thing you need to know is that the education providers, the colleges and the universities, are producing people with those competencies that you need. Our technology answers both those questions. A little bit about HRSG. We've been in business for 28 years. We've been in Ottawa for that time. We've worked with most government departments, building competencies and doing HR research. We've also worked at the national level, working with industry sectors like the ICT Sector Council, like agriculture. And here we build those profiles of competencies that these industries need in doing their work. We also work at the international level with both the United States and with other countries. We work with companies like Intel, SAP, Caterpillar, Michelin, again, to identify the competencies they need to bring them into the future and create growth. So, back to what I'm talking about, which is CareerAim. CareerAim is a job board, Canadian job board, that scrapes postings of jobs from a variety of sources and publishes tens of thousands of vacancies every day. We take this data. What we do with this data, which we call labor market and industry signals, we put it through our technology, our black box, and through a combination of mathematical algorithms and machine learning, we identify those competencies needed for success in any particular job, like marketing manager. And we compare these competencies to our very extensive, robust library to identify in detail what's the knowledge, the know-how, and the behaviors needed for success. So that helps you as an employer identify what you need for your jobs. Now, the next thing we do is we answer the question about the colleges. So we take this competency profile, we run it through our black box, and we also compare the curriculum in college programs or university programs to answer the question, are these programs addressing the competencies needed in industry? So why might you need this? Well, you need to know what are the competencies you need for your jobs, like web designers. What are the up-to-date competencies you need? And maybe you need to know if the local college or the universities are producing the people that you need in these jobs that have up-to-date knowledge. If we look also at certain populations, we think about First Nations groups who are pursuing jobs, say in mining or in forestry, we want to know that the colleges, the technical programs are producing the competencies they need in local jobs, and also that these individuals have the skills they need to be successful in the programs. So that's what our technology does. And we're very proud to have won a BCIP for this. I'll be happy to talk to you afterwards if you have any questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We're just going to give 2 seconds for, there's a crowd of people that would like to come and sit down, so we're going to give them a chance to sit down and get settled. And in the meantime, I'm handing the mic over to the next team. Voilà, monsieur. Merci. And,
Okay, thank you, Christian. Thank you, Guy and Invest Armo for allowing me to pitch for IMI today. It's incredible, there's so many people here, it's a bit stressed, what to tell you. So obviously, the first thing, thank you, Lorraine. IMI, so my name is David Kerr. I'm the Innovation Ambassador at IMI. IMI deliver the power of people. What I'm gonna share with you is nothing new here, but you know what? We are living now in a new economy. It's called the on-demand economy. And in that on-demand economy, the best example are Uber. You can order a taxi driver anytime, anywhere. Airbnb with the hotels industry. Movie with the Netflix. And in that economy, it's now about creating a relationship, not about selling your product anymore. And IMI understand that really well. IMI has been shifted recently from a pure staffing company into a technology company. IMI deal with customers like Tesla, Amazon, Dematic, DHL, and many others. Over the last 20 years, IMI has been serving those businesses, Dematic, DHL, by using very traditional software that's called Human Resource Information Management System. And those kind of software allow you pretty much to store data, candidate profile, job listing, job boards, and all that. But in the new economy, we need something else. We need a way to engage with the candidates. And that's why over the last 3 years, IMI have invested heavily in R&D to develop a new talent engagement software that is called Rhonda, powered by Rhonda. Let me show you here. Help me, Rhonda, that's where it's coming from. Okay, so in that software, allow me to summarize the HR management businesses into these 3 phases. The first one is called P1, the pre-hiring. This is where you post a job, get candidates to apply for a job, you do screening and all those stuff. P2, this is where you decide to hire your candidate, and this is where you do background check. You do their security check, and you do I-9 verification and all that. When you decide to hire a candidate, this is where it goes to phase 3, it's called post-hiring. This is where you need to manage their timesheet, payroll, you need to do all the stuff around your employees, manage their vacation time and all that. I might build Rhonda so that you can go through the managing of the entire cycle powered by AI. And that engine is to be able to, in English, find, verify, engage, manage, reward, and pay those candidates. So the role that Rhonda can serve is she can serve the candidates, customers, recruiters, and HR managers. The technology stacks of Rhonda run on top of a data layer, which is absolutely critical. This is where you store the same type of data, candidates, profile, job, etc. But there is a service layer that sits on top that allows to provide services like candidate screening, like employees reward, employees ratings, etc. Rhonda run on top of that. She's a bot that then can engage through multiple channels like SMS, like through a voice call, through emails, etc., or even through Facebook Messenger. Here's an example of the backend system where you can see here the employees being rated. This has been designed by an incredible designer over there, Sean Brady. Sean, can you stand up rapidly? Thank you. He's one of the guys in Ottawa and the team in IMI over there. And that's what we built so far. So this is a very unique solution that we use to serve our today customer. Those are like Tesla. And we're really proud to present this to you guys. Thank you and welcome to talk to us. The team is here.
I feel like I need some like Price is Right music going. Get me down here. How is everybody today? Good. Thank you for making it out in the snow. No, it's not the easiest to do. My name's Cody Spicer. I'm the VP of Business Development here at Solution X Plus with E over here. And I am here to talk to you today about Formverse. That's me. That's Formverse. So Formverse is a very simplistic, innovative system that really makes your life easier. Anybody that works any administrative here whatsoever can identify with this. A couple smiles in the crowd, yeah. Logging into multiple systems all day long to fill out forms over and over, very repetitive. So what Formverse does is it takes all of these different programs that you need to use throughout a day and merges them all into one little button, goes into your Outlook, Microsoft Outlook programming. So all from the email that you use every day, one little drop-down menu has every form that you're gonna need to fill out. Not only that, through their patented passport system, it allows you to automatically integrate into every ERP that you'd have to use. Also pushing through information, fill out one form, fills out the rest. It uses the Microsoft SQL database, so all of your data is secured. Not only secured, easily trackable from all your management controls. So as a manager, you can see every document that you're sending out there as it's going through the entire process, collect all of that rich data analytics, and be able to use that to make informed decisions in the future. It's fast to deploy, cost effective. It takes days, not months to implement. So if you're looking to switch over to this system, it's a very, very easy system to switch over to. Oops. Yes, and it's got a very simplistic pricing model. Whether you've got 10 employees or 500,000, it scales up with you, one low cost, one low price. Just to give you an idea of the companies that you're currently working with, Fortune 500 companies within our portfolio. All of them recommend this, and I would really recommend it come out to you too. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Invest Ottawa. I'd like to thank Bayview Yards for hosting this with us. I said, appreciate everything you've done for us. Cheers.
Thank you.
Hey Cody, would someone be able to use your product to automate a manual process?
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the main functions for it. What makes your job, your life easier throughout the day. Not only that, your entire organization is far more organized. One push of a button sends one document through to everybody, and everybody's got eyes on it as well.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So that's our first three kind of very quick pitches. Is there anybody that has any questions about any of the startups or vendors that have come and present? For them, no? So, by raise of hands, Phil?
Yeah, I have a quick question. I don't know which I'm not sure which company this is directed at, but are you guys connected to the, what's it called, Talent Cloud Initiative? And do you think the technology that you're using could contribute to that initiative?
All right. I guess which one was your question directed at?
I'm going to say it was probably the second company.
Does anybody in here represent the Talent Cloud GC project at TBS by any chance? No, okay. So I can't speak for it, I'm not an expert, but I know that the effort that's happening today with Talent Cloud GC is to close the gap between engaging the right person for the job in a much more quick and efficient way. So if today the length of time to hire a term employee is, let's say, 200 days, I believe, do not quote me, I believe the intent is to hire that term person in about 30 to 60 days. So the idea being filling that gap between, are we able to engage the right people into the right job in an efficient manner? So like Phil, I kind of saw the talent portion of it, and so maybe that might be something that would be good for the Talent Cloud GC project, and maybe somebody can follow up with them to kind of plug them into that. Okay, is by raise of hands, who has a innovation program or innovation hub in their department today? By raise of hands. Okay. Who would say that they're working on something innovative today? Okay, that's pretty good. That's about 50% of probably the representation of public servants in the room. So my question, I think, to you guys is, if you could have any capability in order to reach your objectives faster, or to minimize the problems that you have in your day-to-day job, what would that be? I'll rephrase the question. What is keeping you from doing your job or accelerating your objectives within your program or project that you have today?
Internal red tape.
Sorry?
Internal red tape.
Internal red tape, or we could say process. That's always the first answer to that question. Internal red tape. One of the interesting things that I've seen around the innovation hubs in the city is that the construct of an innovation hub isn't subjected or has to comply to the traditional policies and processes of the organization, enabling a project to conduct itself in an agile way, minimizing that red tape. And there's a number of innovation hubs in the city within departments, but we're in transition, right? Does anybody have an example that they would like to share, whether they're a part of an innovation program or a hub, where they've been able to minimize the red tape or use some sort of innovative technology for the benefit of how they operate, or perhaps for citizens?
So keep using your Reva, because this is what the crowd
Oh.
is saying.
There's some big problems up there we're not going to solve today. Legislation. So what I hope that we can accomplish by the end of today is, you've seen a few different technologies, some AI, some around talent management, some around automating manual process. The idea is to, when you go home, to think about what sort of technology is out there that I could apply and bring back to my department. So what I hope that we can gain is some new insight, but also not just hearing from the vendors, but also hearing from some of you. As I was saying before, I think that some of the best ways to lead by example is to explain how another department or another government association was able to apply technology innovations. So does anybody have anything that they'd like to share?
Well, towards the goal of reducing processes, we're working with Parks Canada right now on a streamlined system to select individuals for jobs. So it's a recruitment process, and we're designing some tools, as I said, that are streamlined with the goal of recruiting within a month or so. I don't know if they're part of that cloud technology group, but that's our goal with Parks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Someone broke the ice, so it's, oh, excuse me.
Okay.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you. I'm from Global Affairs Canada, and I run the collaboration center there. So right now we're in the process of looking into installing light fidelity wireless internet in our center. So this would be the first workspace in North America with light fidelity internet.
Excuse me, hello. How would you say that you were able to set up that particular project amidst the organizational structure or quote-unquote red tape that your department might have?
That's a good question. We've gone two routes. First of all, we have what's called the Innotech Challenge in our department, where our IT section actually seeks out projects that are proposed by different work units and employees, and we'll work with them and fund these type of projects on a pilot basis to create prototypes. So this is a prototype. The other element is that the Collaboration Center for Phase 2 is part of the 125 Sussex refit, and there's several pilot projects there, and we've included Li-Fi in that as well. So one way or the other, we will install Li-Fi in the center.
Excellent. And what would you say is your biggest challenge in doing it?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is because it's a completely new technology and hasn't been in other workplaces, has never been in government before, anywhere in the world, is the newness of it that you have to introduce people, have them see how it works. So we've done demonstrations in our collaboration center with the equipment brought up by the firm, which is in Montreal, and we've shown it to the experts, and we've brought them on board.
Thank you.
Yeah, just from the lab's perspective, I was at a conference this morning with 400 regulators, and that was an interesting experience because we were asked, how do we get around the IMIT constrictions and restrictions in the government? And my response to them was, we MacGyver it in our lab. So by MacGyvering, I mean we actually take advantage of some of the federal assets that are available to us, like the Build in Canada Innovation Program, which for us is a lifeline for new technology testing in our lab. So the Nareva that you see us using here is one of the first that we've purchased, or in the process of purchasing. And for those of you departments who don't know how BCIP works, certainly we can talk to you about it a little later after the event. But it is a lifeline, and it's an opportunity to test stuff that's pre-commercial and to see if it works for you. So it's just another avenue.
There's a nice big red one here called lack of flex of sandbox capacity. And for those of you that don't know what Sandbox is, Sandbox is providing that environment to be able to do anything that you want. And what I have found, at least in my travels, is that people have wanted to do something different. They've stuck their neck out, however, because of the red tape and whatnot, they haven't been able to either acquire the right resources or pass the security checks or get the funding and whatnot. And it can start with the project with the right executive sponsorship, but setting up the right program to have every particular innovation project run like a sandbox style is at least where I've seen some of the progress in departments. And if anybody has an example of that, it would be great to hear from you. It's a very quiet crowd today. Okay, so we'll bring in the next company to pitch.
Check. Hi everyone, bonjour tout le monde. Je me nomme Christian Desjardins. You can call me Chris. I'm from a company called Punchtime. So Punchtime helps make smarter work sites. We provide field capture equipment for skilled workforces to capture things about what they're working on, what they're doing, what project they're working on, and this provides a bunch of feedback and intelligence to managers, co-workers, business owners on exactly what's happening. Gives them insight for quoting, for automating the payroll, et cetera, et cetera. But today, I'm not going to talk to you about Punchtime. I'm going to talk to you about something that we've been working on for a little while, and because Guy approached us with this proposal to talk to the crowd, we figured we would come up with a little proposal. So this proposal is a modernization proposal using blockchain technology. So who's heard about Bitcoin here? Right, everybody's heard about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is based on a technology called blockchain. So a blockchain is a ledger. That's it. It's like a big book with transactions. It's not any more complicated than that. Except that it's digital. And it's distributed, which means that there are a lot of copies of this ledger everywhere on a bunch of nodes, a bunch of different computers. And all of these ledgers have to arrive at a consensus. And this consensus happens with every transaction. So you're sure that every transaction is exactly what it should be. And it's very secure because of this, because it's distributed, it's everywhere, it's not in any one place, and there's just consensus. You can't mess with the information. It's immutable, which means that you can't erase anything from it. It's there forever. You've got provenance because of that immutability, which means that you can trace back transactions and know exactly where the whole thing started. You've got the whole track record, whole history, complete history. And it's efficient because it can run on anything. So this is what Eric Schmidt, founder of Google, has to say about Bitcoin blockchain. Bitcoin is a remarkable cryptographic achievement. The ability to create something which is not duplicated in the digital world has enormous value. Lots of people will build business on top of that. This is another one from Ben Bernanke, the former chairman of the US Federal Reserve. Virtual currencies may hold long-term promise, particularly if the innovations promote a faster, more secure, and more efficient payment system. Maersk has been using blockchain to track their shipping containers, largest shipping container company in the world. They use blockchain to track all this stuff. It's immutable, so they don't lose anything, they know exactly where everything is, and they're actually using it now for marine insurance. PricewaterhouseCoopers now accepts digital currency payments. That's big. So that's blockchain. Now there's this other piece of technology that I want to talk to you about called Ethereum. So Ethereum is a blockchain. It's a variant of blockchain. And it's great technology. And what makes it different, well, there's actually a little bit more about Ethereum. So lots of backing, all of these financial institutions are behind it, technology institutions, and that's just a fraction of the list. This is huge. So what makes Ethereum different is smart contracts. So a smart contract is a very simple thing. It's a contract, just like a lawyer would write a contract, except that this is a contract that you can write in computer code. You use programming languages to write these contracts. But it's the same things, right? They have terms and conditions, and when the conditions of this contract are fulfilled, the contract gets executed instantly. So any environment where trust, security, and permanence are important, smart contracts bring a lot of value. And I bet that in government, there's a lot of these situations. And I'm thinking things like bureaucratic processes, asset inventories, voting, other things. So along with these smart contracts, you have very simple apps. So these apps, they don't need user management, they don't need storage, they don't need any of that stuff. That's all in the blockchain. So you just need very little simple apps, and these simple apps talk to smart contracts. So they get information from smart contracts, and they can make smart contracts do things, right? So you can create like a voting application, or like a financial settlement application, where the terms of the contract are met, the financial settlement is done. The contract can move currency, which is amazing. So this is what we propose that the government should use, right? So you have a blockchain, and inside this blockchain, you have smart contracts, you have users, and you have CAD tokens. So CAD tokens in this proposition are tokens that are on parity with the Canadian dollar. So they're worth a Canadian dollar. They don't fluctuate, it's not like cryptocurrency. And with these simple apps, you can do all of these great things, interact with the blockchain, and then the blockchain would have access to an exchange that would allow, the fulfillment in Canadian dollars, US dollars, or even cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Ethereum. So this is not going away. This is getting bigger, and I really think the government should be part of this conversation. And if any of you would like to talk about this kind of stuff, feel free to reach out after the presentation. Thank you very much.
Blockchain. Who is anybody today working on any blockchain use cases or case studies within the public service? I see two gentlemen, one in the back row. I will bring the mic to you myself. Excuse me? Okay, well, we can hear from you anyway.
Sure. I'm with the Canadian Intellectual Property Office. One thing's extremely early stages, but we're looking at the idea of using a blockchain for copyright registrations to have a more efficient, secure register where the data is more traceable, it's more permanent. We have one of the issues with intellectual property is you can transfer things as many times as you want. So if I own the rights to the song, I transfer it 4 different places. You have no idea who to go to get access to those rights. We're looking at the idea of using blockchain to have a more open ledger to track those sorts of things. One of the big things we'll be looking at though are privacy implications of where data is stored, because there's it's not supposed to be inside Canadian servers, it's supposed to be under certain controls. So that's something we're very starting to look into, but I think as more and more initiatives look at blockchain, I think that'll be a bigger concern.
Thanks. We still want you.
So I'm one of the entrepreneurs upstairs working at a Tony Belletti's cybersecurity wing, and the startup that we're working on is called Crowdfluence. And essentially what it's going to be is an Uber-like format for influencer marketers around the world. And while we've been doing our preparation research to start actually coding the platform, one of the things that we encountered was that there's a real big trust factor with respect to influencer marketers these days. So for those of you who don't know anything about it, influencer marketers actually get paid based on their level of reach, hence the word influence. And it's very easy actually to fake reach. You can go on sites like Fiverr.com and pay somebody $10 overseas, and next thing you know, within 2 hours, you've got 50,000 followers, and nobody knows if they're fake or real, and there's no real reliable audit system out there. So our morphing over into using blockchain as part of what Crowdfluence will become is to actually start coding people's digital footprints in a reliability type, trust, blockchain type of resource that the whole world can actually tap into in order to verify the validity of an influencer's followers. So we're actually going to use the blockchain to create the backbone for this trust reliability system that's going to go and be a primary part of what Crowdfluence is going to become. Oh, and one more thing. This is sort of a little bit of a shameless plug, if you don't mind, Paul. If anybody is interested in the subject of blockchain and ICOs specifically, which is initial coin offerings, Invest Ottawa actually, Invest Ottawa and Bayview Yards, because it's all one big happy family here. We have a meetup that you can find on meetup.com called ICO Ottawa. And it's the last Thursday of every month. We had our first meetup just in the last Thursday of November to a very packed room. And we're actually doing a lot of cutting edge research and discussion on the subject of ICOs in particular. So if that subject is of interest to you, I definitely suggest that you check us out at meetup.com and come out to some of these events.
Thank you. What was your name again?
Jordan.
Jordan, great.
That's all you need to know.
Okay, no last names. Blockchain secured. Some of you have said, or I know some of you are thinking that process can be an issue within any sort of federal government. Blockchain certainly brings some security to that. We saw a company that brings some automated process. Where I've seen some success in terms of process automation using blockchain is there's a US organization that had to have a certification done for every single application revision that it published. So if an organization is updating an application that serves that particular department or citizen, every single time that they do a revision, there's a security accreditation, a legal accreditation that needs to happen. So that process of doing that for every revision took up to 90 to 120 days. So you can imagine the frustration of the developers. And it's a frustration that we can certainly share, not just within IT or application development, but basically getting anything done. The way that manual process works, the amount of touch points, the amount of regulation and policy and process that we have to follow, we always get frustrated and see it as something that's hindering us toward doing our job. So with the coupling of some process automation technology, some strong executive sponsorship and blockchain technology, that company that was going through a manual process for every application revision from 90 to 120 days was now doing it in 1 day. So that's taking 120 days of time spread across many different people and crushing that down into a single day. And of course, that certainly makes the developers happy, but it also makes that organization a lot more nimble, agile, and able to respond to the needs of the organization or the needs of the people. So if you'd like to learn more about that, I can talk to any of you individually after that. It certainly is a great use case and one to be highlighted, because I think it's those types of other, let's say, examples that we could learn from, but also give us the right confidence that we need to be able to do the right thing within our project to make it go faster. So with that, if there's any more questions with blockchain, yep.
Thank you. The Canadian payment system and the Bank of England have decided not to get involved with blockchain at this point because they don't have confidence in the system. If you are aware of that, could you comment and can you say if there is things done to meet their objections?
Thanks for the question. That's a great question, and I won't be fully equipped to answer it fully, but I can definitely to let you know that the industry sees blockchain as a new technology. Like when cloud showed up, like when AI shows up, there's a certain amount of accreditation, certification, and review that's needed for any sort of disruptive technology before entities such as banks or government uses them. We are in the beginning of the blockchain technology era. There's certainly a lot of interest from the market. There's a lot of companies sprouting up, and I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add to that particular question. But I can say that there's efforts within the government of Canada today that's looking at the security design and review and assessing whether blockchain is a viable and secure product to implement into our systems. Hopefully that answers. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, maybe that it's a little bit different in that. Oh, sorry. When the cloud came around, people could sit on their traditional servers and all that kind of thing and wait before they switched over to more distributed forms of servers, right? This technology is so disruptive that it's going to become present before government accepts it. And so, with this technology in particular, I would really urge government to pay special attention because if they don't, they're just not going to be part of that conversation. That conversation is still going to be happening, and it's more than just a conversation. I think it's a lot bigger than that. You don't see shit like this. This is a 1 in a 50-year kind of.
Thanks. I'm just going to give the mic to Christian.
So I'm not a technology person. I come at it from the user's perspective of being a public servant trying to do my job really well. And I think what's interesting about blockchain is, for me, the simple way to describe it is getting rid of agency relationships. So wherever there's an agent in your life that's giving you grief, costing you money, taking time lag in how you do your work, that's the place where blockchain application could potentially be in play. Now, in the public service, I can think of a number of different spaces, and I'm just going to throw this out because this is, of course, a psychologically safe environment, and this is what we do in our lab. Places where blockchain potentially could be very useful. First, federal science funding. Where's my friend Jeff Kinder? Mr. Kinder, do you not agree that a blockchain prototype with Shirk and NSERC would be pretty cool? So instead of researchers having to apply 15 times with the same information, you could apply once, your data is taken, it's irrefutable, and you can move forward with your project proposals. So that would save an interesting prototype. Where else? Copyright people talked about this. Who's for copyright? Yeah, pretty good. Copyright's right up there as one of the key use cases, you would think. Who else could think of an agency relationship in the public service where you could see a blockchain application? For those of you who are not techies. Anyone? Anyone? Contracting, bingo. Yeah.
Immigration process and support of immigrants or refugees after they arrive.
Immigration process and supporting refugees, absolutely. Anything else? Taxes? Yes?
Variety of registration where we basically have province, federal,
Super. This is a really important point. So we're talking about public sectors, and not just the federal public service or the federal public sector. If you mention federal, provincial, territorial relationships, and anywhere where there's agreements on land, on money, on what have you, there would be potential use cases. And I'm going to end up with one final potential one, and that's ATIP. Okay. Can you imagine putting ATIP on a blockchain? What would that look like? So I probably have lost my job for seeing the latter part thing, but I'm going to hand it over back to Paul. But some food for thought and some more ideas if you can flip them on the Nareva, okay? For you.
Thanks, Christia. I like how somebody said, "Is Bitcoin going to crash?" and somebody else said, "Nah." I don't know. I don't know if that was meant to be that way. It's, so blockchain and Bitcoin are not the same thing. Bitcoin uses blockchain. Some people think that blockchain is a silver bullet. It is not. It is more like a architecture. So there is still. It's not like you're going to download the blockchain app and it's going to fix immigration or it's going to automate that manual process. There's a considerable amount of work to be done on top of a blockchain type of architecture. So I thought that was worth noting. Some other great examples that Christia was going after around contracting, around, we heard immigration. Is there anybody that has any other use cases that they've identified for the work that they're doing today? I'm just going to hand you the mic here so everybody can hear you.
Not in the public sector, but from a public citizen standpoint, it was more to ideate each individual having an ID which we interact with in the government, whether it's coming into the country, whether it's traveling out of the country, whether it's payroll, whether it's taxes. That could be a really innovative way to keep one identity when I'm communicating with many different departments.
Thank you, and I just wanted to say that it's the questions aren't for the public service, it's for the benefit of the public service. So if you're a private company and you think that these type of technologies can lend some sort of advantage to citizens or the public service, then the questions are for you as well.
Hi, thanks. My name is Scott Annan, and I run a startup called Guides.co, which is a publishing space. I think the important thing with blockchain is the idea of decentralization. So some similarities to cloud computing, where it went from something that went one place, one owner of that information, a single point of failure. What cloud platforming did is said, actually it should be distributed in a way that actually increases security, improves security, improves the ability to make sure you have record retention and other things. What we're seeing now with blockchain is something that's very similar. As opposed to one person, quote unquote, owning it in a single file, it's being able to ensure that there's backups in the same copies kind of everywhere. In the same spirit, we built a documentation platform that does the same thing. So rather than having one organization that creates a document like a PDF and puts it in one place, and then everyone has their own siloed information, you can actually share live documentation across multiple organizations. So for anybody who's had to send, for instance, a customer a list of links to all kinds of different places to find resources, or not sure you have the latest version of a document, we actually get rid of that problem by having a single repository, but it can be reused on multiple different places. An example of that is in the hurricane crisis in the United States, where we worked with FEMA, the cities of Houston and in Florida, as well as legal groups in Texas. We worked with the Red Cross. And so rather than having lots of different places for someone to go to find information on how to get help, they'd actually got to share documentation and republish on everybody's different website to say, here's how you can go and get financial help, here's how you can get emotional and other help, as well as legal things. And inside the government, I think this is a huge issue that affects processes, affects availability of information, is being able to share information across intranets, across different silos, in the same way that blockchain enables kind of a central ledger, but can be is stored in multiple different places. So I just wanted to share that. It's called Guides.co, and we're working with some different organizations already.
Thank you, excellent. Does anybody else have another quick statement or question that they would like to share about blockchain? Rob? Put you on
We're just starting to look at it, but obviously anywhere where you've got registers, so business registers, that ties into the whole concept of EMs and things like that. So really shared single version of the truth, master data situations across multiple organizations. So So that's where I would look at it. I know when I was down at the Saskatchewan Forum that they, EY was working with U.S. healthcare providers, and they were basically using it to ensure that there were no issues with contact information in patient, doctor, insurer, payer offices, and they'd actually assigned something like $25,000 per wrong record per day fines. So they got an economic incentive to do it.
Thanks, Rob. Rob's from Stats Canada. Okay, I'm gonna hand it over. One last thing on blockchain, the other disruptive technologies that you've seen so far. It starts with a business case and a value proposition. So if you're thinking about where do we start with this sort of technology, understanding it, what it can do, and these type of sessions is great, but understanding and diving down to it from a business perspective and writing that business case to understand what can blockchain process automation, talent management, AI, what can it do for the projects that I'm working on today? And once the value proposition is clear, that could be the right place to start. So I'll pass it over to Snap Clarity.
Hi, I'm Terry Story. We were just laughing, what a great transition, right? To go from like blockchain, Bitcoin to mental health, discussing it, right? It's easy. So Snap Clarity, so I'm the CEO of it and one of the co-founders. So we believe that unlimited access to good quality mental health is a right that everyone should have. So our story started, I've been in this space for 20 years as a CEO in mental health, and I only have 5 to 7 minutes, so I'll really make this fast around my story. But our goal was to improve patient data, increase access, and then also to match people to the right experience right from the get-go. So part of one of the stats that we looked at that was really big to my heart was that only 12.5% of Canadians are walking around with any accurate diagnoses and any symptoms. So that means that we have almost 80% of people walking around not knowing how to navigate or what to do with themselves when they are struggling with mental health. So if we look at some barriers, and I won't spend a lot of time, but we look at stigma and discrimination. We also look at psychotropic medication. We looked at 80% of GPs are actually treating mental health. And we also looked that people just don't have the right resources or tools. And so some of the symptoms of mental health is I usually give this one number, is that 500,000 Canadians miss work a week due to mental health. And it's a $51 billion economic problem in Canada. So we saw a need to develop a solution, which is Snap Clarity. So if we look on help on their terms, so we're innovative, which I will describe later, secure and confidential in the platform. If you look at our current system of mental health, is that I don't really need to explain a lot. There's lots of confusion, lots of different silos, and lots of different points of entry for people to get in. So Snap Clarity system is frictionless. It's an assessment paired with a licensed professional and then treatment. And when we look at this scale, we like it, and I'll talk about it a little bit further, but because happiness and productivity levels go hand in hand, you can see from the beginning here and then people getting happier. And I will talk about our data play, so what's great is we can collect lots of data over time. So how does it work? So step one is that the user gets on and we have a validated mental health assessment, meaning it's the diagnostic tool that doctors use to put people in system clusters. And we base it on 13 psychological disorders. So step two is the minute that you're done this, you actually get an actionable treatment plan immediately. And we've left it in a PDF form right now, so then you get an action plan in self-help, psychosocial options, meaning therapy, and the third one is pharmacology, first-line drugs used for that symptom. So if you were, for example, high-risk anxiety, then you would get a treatment plan based on high-risk anxiety. Then step three is we have algorithms that will match you to the right skill set. So again, I'll use anxiety because it's the biggest issue right now, is that you'll be matched to somebody who can actually work with you with your anxiety. And help on your terms. So a couple of things that we did within the platform, because we've been in the space, was that you can talk to your therapist either text or video, and you can schedule that how you'd like. So for instance, most therapy sessions are 60 minutes. You can book that that you're using the 60 minutes up within like 15 minutes a day if you need it. And the text messaging is unlimited. So this is my favorite part, and my CEO over there is laughing at me because I love to talk about it. So part of the thing is that everyone's talking about, and everyone's reading about predictive mental health. And it kind of really makes me angry when companies are taking people's data and then trying to predict your mental health due to that. Is that I'm saying the only way it's going to fly in a medical field is if actually you can validate that predictive mental health. Meaning that if you have a symptom cluster of data within an anxiety cluster or depression, we can see what you're doing online, and then we can actually base that will actually fly in the medical world and they'll believe what we're telling them. So a couple of things we're doing within Snap Clarity with our use cases is we have a smart chatbot, meaning that the user gets a chatbot that will hopefully over time become more human-like. You'll be able to calculate your risk level and so forth. So the next one is we have a translator API. Again, it's pretty explanatory. It's just languages we can use. We have natural processing language. This is my kind of baby, and I love is that we can start to look at the text that's used because we are a chat platform, and we can start to put risk level to the language that's utilized in that. Hopefully making the therapist's time a lot more efficient because we can actually send a notification saying, I think this client's more at risk with the language that they're using, and we can put things on it like that. And you can just imagine what you can keep doing as that data play moves. Our third one is our emotion API. So within our FaceTime video, we'll have emotions on that we can, again, we talk about data, is that we can have system clusters of data of depression, anxiety, and the 13. We can actually now take face recognitions and emotions and be able to put that with that data to see if it makes sense at all in mental health. So this is our team, and my team's sitting over there. So people can come and see us afterwards, chat with us about our product as we're going to market very soon. Thank you.
So Terry, don't go away. So let's open up the floor to questions for Terry and her team. Does anyone have any questions about what Snap Clarity is designed to do? And maybe on the back end of that, can you see this application be used in public sectors, and for what purpose? Anyone? And feel free to use Nareva as well. I should be transparent, right? So Terry and Snap Clarity have been pre-approved by the Building Canada Innovation Program, and the lab is the first buyer for the Government of Canada. So we'll be meeting tomorrow with 6 departments to start the conversation about what does an experiment with Snap Clarity look like in the context of Canada's innovation agenda. So this is going to be an experimental process, and we're certainly going to have a narrative behind it and open dialogue about how it's working and how it's shaping us. So with that, does anyone have any questions? Yep, right in the back. Hold on. Yep.
Yeah, I've got a question. Some of these apps are, if you feel that you need help, is to see people using it before they realize that they need help. So as opposed to, well, I feel like I've got a mental illness, and so I should get this app and start using it. Have you guys looked at targeting everybody so that
So great answer, and I kind of I'm a Canadian startup, right? So we follow the money. So 75% of Canadians have insurance, and part of this app when I started it was also to disrupt insurance, right? Because we want to keep it simple. Is that with the regular benefits that employers are paying, their employees and their families can access it. So at some point though, we will be moving to the users, and to consumers fully. So I think right now what will happen as we roll this out with employers is that they will be letting their people know that this is available for them and their families.
Hey Scott, how's it going? So I think part of it too is the assessment itself is actually part of the onboarding of the application, and because it's free, anybody who downloads the application can actually get that component. So if you do want to just kind of find out if you're feeling off and you're looking at checking out symptoms and things like that, that part of onboarding, which is the first thing you do when you get the app, is accessible to everybody right away. So we're trying to hit that component right out of the gate, which is kind of nice, actually.
So Terry, just looking on the Nareva wall, I think there's a really good, well, they're all interesting, but for me, one of the questions is how are these databases protected? Who owns the data and how does that work?
So we own the data, so clearly, this is the most expensive part of our app, is the architect. So we're working with Microsoft, so we have Canadian storage, HEPA, PIFA, we need all of those. So that was a process within itself. So, did I answer that?
Okay, I'm looking over here, Terry, so I'm gonna throw you some heavy ones, all right?
Yeah.
Most people needing help won't seek this platform in the first place. Based on your experience and some of the testing you've done so far, what do you say to that?
You asked me how we can justify
It
replacing.
says most people needing help won't seek this platform in the first place.
We have I've been in the space for 20 years, so I have a bricks and mortar exactly, right, that we have therapists, psychiatrists, we use the whole system. And with the technology that we test out with the MVP, people were using it. So I think that this actually will give more accessibility to people because you can use it anytime, any place, anywhere. And it's not time sensitive. Again, we're disrupting it because people don't have to use 60 minutes. They can use 15 minutes when they need it the most. So this platform's all about optimizing money and having good outcomes with that, right?
So to answer this question, you can contact me at the lab for more information and we'd be happy to chat with you.
Christina, there's another question over there.
Where is the back? Oh, there we go. Hold on. 1, 2. Let's go first.
I was curious about using the app when it's not for you, like for your mother or for your child or for your husband.
So that's what I was saying. So right now is our first go-to-market strategy as my Canadian startup. Right as we're working with employers because I believe employers are in the best position to help us disrupt mental health, right, and change the delivery. So with the apps available for we're 12 and up, so it is for your mother, your son, your daughter. And as we kind of roll out through the year, it'll be just a full consumer platform that anyone can just download, get on, do the free mental health assessment, and to decide where they want to go from there. Make sense? No, every user that will get on, right, they will have so when a user gets on, they will fill out their information, they onboard filling out the assessment. Right, so everyone gets that, and then right now we've left it in a PDF copy. So then you'll get a copy, you can email it to yourself, your assessment, and you can take it to your GP or work through it as a family and discuss it more. Make sense?
And if you looked into the EAP, or it's called EAS in government, it's employee assistance.
Yeah.
So it's like a perfect fit. I don't know how conducive Health Canada is to changing anything in it, but.
So this is. I'd love to answer this question. So, because I challenge it, because EAP programs, again, are so underutilized, they're 3%. And so, again, I just like to we're not selling an add-on, let's just keep it really simple, give people the benefits that they require. So within your regular benefits, we believe that employers should be offering $3,000 to $5,000 of mental health benefits that have no barriers, meaning no doctor's letters, they can talk to either a therapist or a coach on their own terms. So when I talk about EAP, the problem is because it's 3% utilization rate.
So Terry, there's a really interesting question behind you. What would be the worst case scenario if Snap Clarity got hacked?
So again, we work with Microsoft, right? Yes, 11.
Hey guys. So in terms of the hacking side, so based on how we build the architecture of the app, none of the personal data that's or conversations or video that's actually being had on the platform is being stored, and none of it is identifiable to a user. So it's literally if somebody was to hack it, they wouldn't find nothing. The expiration dates and times on those discussions are immediate, right? So it's up to the therapist to leverage the platform to just sort of have those conversations with their users, but there's no sensitive information that we're keeping along the way. So hack, but there's not going to be anything there available to you.
So you mentioned an AI component. I'm just curious, where are you getting your training data from, basically, to make that all work?
Sorry, say that again?
Where's the training data coming from for your AI?
training data? Oh, like just the data that's coming into the platform.
It's going to do recognition, sort of pictures.
Right. Yeah, so that's where we're working with Microsoft quite a bit, actually. So with them, they've already, we're going to need a sample size, and we're going to have to get that rocking and rolling, obviously. But from a technology standpoint, we've integrated with them and sort of leveraged their sort of baseline APIs to sort of get us off the ground. And then over time, obviously, some of our data will play into that. Is that?
Just wondering, because I was actually at a meetup a while back where there was a grad student who will go doing sentiment analysis on Bell Let's Talk messaging, right, to see if they can actually do impression identification.
We're also looking to work with some data scientists and doctors out in Boston, and that's where our natural language program comes from as well. They've done a massive amount of work of analyzing conversational aspects to this in the medical industry to help us on that front. So they are providing a lot of the algorithms and the baselines to the data that's coming in and feeding into the chatbot, who can basically then provide insights to the users and to the therapists.
I think you've got a great idea and a great product. I was wondering, how do you handle the shortages of psychiatrists, psychologists? There's like a 7-month waiting list, so how do you handle that in rolling out the product to the main consumers?
So that was part of the forming of building the product and deciding how we disrupt each model of that, and looking what our competitors do. So we do have a disrupt, part of our model for revenue, right, is that the user gets on and they can pay, they can use their insurance, they can use that kind of stuff, is that with the therapist, we actually don't take their revenue. So other platforms in my bricks and mortar will do a 30-70% split. So we're going out fairly bold that they get to keep 100% of that revenue that they actually do on video chat. And then with the text messaging, we do a split with that. Does that answer your question?
The other piece too is that I think what we're trying to do is free up therapists' time. So from a shortage point of view, a lot of therapists are running a business, right? They're building up their clientele. They're doing their own billings. They're running around doing a bunch of work rather than actually delivering therapy. I think what the platform will do on our end is also free up that time. So part of that long-term goal for us is hoping that not only do we make therapy and mental health more accessible to people, but that we free up therapists and provide them a platform to free them to actually deliver it. So we're not going to solve the problem, hopefully, but we're hoping that we're breaking down those barriers and we're allowing people to provide as much as they can.
And I think just to add on, what was really important key is that, remember that stat I gave you about 12% of Canadians not having accurate symptomology, is that because we're using a validated assessment that the doctors use to diagnose disorders, is that because we have that off the get-go, we get it right at the beginning. So 100% of our users will have an accurate data plan, treatment plan.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to come back to the hacking issue, because the security is really crucial to this system. I have difficulty, maybe I didn't understand it clearly, but I have difficulty believing as an individual that the data, there's no storage of the information, and that if a hacker gets into the system, nothing, they will not find anything. So maybe can you clarify that if there is...
Yeah, so from a data standpoint, we have the users, the user information, like their login information. From that point of view, we're not capturing any personal data in that. It's very, very high level information, like email, password, that's it. So from a personal perspective, there's no personal data that we're capturing there. On the side where you're interacting with the therapist, as that information is happening, it has a very limited window at which we keep it between the therapist and the patient, but we don't log it for a very long period of time. Like, it's a very short window. So it's almost like, I don't know, I'm not up with the new apps the kids are using these days, but like Snapchat, where it's quick interactions and they don't get stored and they're not housed. So from that perspective, there's no data accessible.
But don't you have to see the evolution of the person as a patient, so to speak, and if they're evolving in some way that you can.
And in that scenario, it's unidentifiable, and because we don't actually link the data to the actual user, but we provide an insight to the therapist, but we actually don't make the data identifiable to the actual user itself.
Okay, so we'll take 2 more questions for Terry, and then we want to open it up for a networking session with all of our pitchers. So are there any other questions for Terry? We're going to make sure she and her team sees this and gets a copy of this, as will all the teams today. No? So thank you. Paul, where are you? Paul. Oh, hello. So just by closing, we want to thank you very much for attending this IDA pop-up here at the iSet Innovation Lab at Bayview. It's our first, so we'll be sending you an electronic link to an evaluation form. Please be kind and fill it out. It's in English only. It's our alpha test right now. The next iteration we'll have will be a bilingual beta test for that. And we're really grateful you made it out in such a heavy first snowstorm day of the year. It wasn't a snow day in my house, unfortunately, but for some people it might have been. And we're really grateful and sending you all a very big thank you for joining us, and we'll hopefully see you again when it's a little bit warmer. So merci à vous, Colantus.